Okay, guys, welcome back to another Fat Bee Man chat. Tonight I'm filling in for E, and so I hope you brought your questions. And Don, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, most students or most beekeepers, I don't think are really thinking about reaching their potential. So tonight, let's talk about reaching your potential. Now, it's still a little bit light out here. I'm going to swing my camera towards my bee yard and see if you can see. I guess you can't see all the beehives in the back. Can you see any beehives? All right, we had, as probably a lot of people have been following us here, we started this as our southern yard in Crawfordville. We started with 90 packages, and I had our students today run checks. I had 3 students this weekend. 2 are really hard workers and really pitched in. Robert and David, we took and probably made at least 50 splits today. Now, you got to remember, 90 packages, and the Queens was out about March 5th. And I've been selling basically 25 nukes almost every week. And we had a young guy coming from Houston last week. It took 20 queens. Last week we sold about 30, 35 queens at least, plus 25 nukes every week. So sit back and think, what are you really doing? Are you making the potential splits that you really can? Are you making the income that you are actually can make? Or are you just sitting back and just working them hives once or twice a month? Now, I see you've got at least 5 or 6 students that's been here and experienced it. I'm going to put you to work. You know, you be sure to read Tom Sawyer before you come here. So we're going to give you a good exercise in making splits. So today, basically, we was doing splits just like I've been saying right along. 1 frame of honey, a queen cell, shake some extra bees, and we went on about it. So who's got some questions that want to talk about your potential? Or if you got anything else you want to talk about, we'll talk about it.
Okay, Dave and Tracy, go ahead.
Hey, good evening,
Hey.
Don. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. I enjoyed that chocolate cake after you left. It was David's birthday. He was celebrating at the bee yard working.
Yeah, no better place to be. The chocolate cake was pretty good for Walmart.
Yep, that was good. Yep.
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to say thanks, both Tracy and I. We had an awesome time last week at your bee yard, and 2.5 days, and it was work, but it really wasn't. We worked, I thought, you know, pretty good, but we learned so much, and the bees are as gentle as advertised. I think reaching your potential, we're not even close, but at least we know now we're not even close. And it's good to get the tips that we've listed. I sent it a note into the Fat Bee Man Facebook page, and I just want to encourage people to go spend the time. It is more than worth your time, and you'll learn so much. We're going back again. Definitely. And we just want to say thank you, Don.
You're welcome. And I'm hoping Tracy feels a lot more comfortable without a bee suit and all that heavy, hot material you have to wear.
Oh, definitely. I couldn't wait to get back home, and I actually was doing it barehanded here at home in Texas until he came out.
On the way home, did you?
Did I give him the 3rd degree? No.
Yeah, she's been giving me the 3rd degree ever since we got home.
Well,
you're not doing it like Don's doing it.
I'm glad you're learning. That's the best advice I can get.
Well, you know, I said it, Don, and I was really serious about it, even in retrospect. It's the best bee class, bee training, bee working, which I think is the best way to learn. It's the best I've ever had, and Tracy has ever had. So, folks, please go. It is well worth your time.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Well, I have students here, and I keep telling all the students, if you follow me around and you do exactly what I'm doing, you're not learning a thing. And I try to let the students kind of run the bee boxes, make decisions on their own. I don't care if you make mistakes. I've had students drop a frame of honey, a frame of brood on the ground. I smile and brush it off. It's just, this is what you're here for, to learn. So I want you to take away from this class something each time you come here. If it's just 1 or 2 tips.
Well, we're at 100 and climbing, so we've got more than just a couple.
Now's the time you want to learn a little bit more efficiency to work your hives. You feel that you're doing a lot faster now.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot faster.
No question. It's really made a big difference.
It's definitely a lot different from raising bees to sell versus raising bees to sell honey.
Right.
There's a difference.
But there's people that, they like to make honey. To me, I went through that stage in my life. Now, my point in this life and where my journey is try to kind of pass on information that no one else is willing to.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Now, don't be afraid to ask questions. I hope someone can stump me. Then I have to start researching a little bit.
Don, how's the weather been down there in Crawfordville? Did you guys get a bunch of rain coming through? And if so, how does that affect your queen rearing?
Well, actually, the rain's it's been too rainy this year. Today, we've had a good hot day in the 90s, but we've had rain off and on, and it's kind of affecting the sales of the virus itself is slowing our sales down. We're not normally topping out, really good this time of year, and we're down, but we still have what we call our base customers that come and buy large orders, keeps us afloat, keeps us going good. But we had 2 really good students come here, one from Texas and one from Alabama, and I'm telling you, for between 11 and 13-year-old, those boys are sharp. They're going to exceed my knowledge in about 3 years. They'll be out here hopefully teaching. I've never seen kids pick up stuff and spot queens as fast as those 2. Their fathers should be very proud of them.
That's great. The young kids, they sure pick it up quick, don't they? And they've got an eye for it. Okay, looks like Eric and Maureen have a question. Go ahead, guys.
Hey, Don, how we doing?
Okay.
Hey, I was just down at Dennis's today getting a couple queens from him. Made a couple splits. I took a frame of honey and a frame of brood and shook off a little extra bees in the 3-frame nuke. And then I inserted the queen. How long should I leave that entrance closed for them to have to reorientate themselves?
Well, did you do it in the same yard?
Yes.
Well, rather than me put anybody, give you misinformation, David is sitting in. Let David explain to you what I keep telling people and what he put into practice why he was down here. And that'll answer your question.
Okay.
Go ahead, David.
Hey, yeah, so I think, your question was how long to keep the queen or the queen cell in there before you open it back up?
No, the hive itself.
Oh, the hive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long at all. I mean, when you're done, you can open it up pretty quick. There's no set time. Once things get settled, they're ready to go.
Okay. Because I've been told before from a few guys around here that leave it closed at least 24 hours before you open it up, so they have to reorientate themselves to that location that they're at so they don't go back to their old hive.
Ask David from Tennessee. And Robert here from Georgia. Now, I'm not putting any words in their mouth. They can talk to you first. Tell you. Go ahead, tell them what you did, David.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
We hear you.
What you're looking for is you shake a bunch of nurse bees off in there, I mean, you're gonna have some of your field bees fly back, but
Yeah.
I mean, just as soon as they go down the drain there, you open it up, make sure you got plenty in there. You ain't got to close them off or anything like that. They'll get around that queen cell. You'll see them get on it pretty good. I mean, you're just doing a frame of honey, so you're not gonna need all that many bees. So if you do fly back, it's not gonna be that big a deal.
You better explain to the people that haven't heard that term, putting them down the drain.
The drain, yeah.
No, I forget. I've been doing it. I've been down there all week long with Don. Just, turn a lid over. You got a lid down on your box with a hole in it, for your feed, and then you can flip another lid upside down, and you shake that off in there, and the bees will just go right down that hole off to that cell. It also helps if you're kind of didn't see your queen and you think you may have had her on there. It's easier to spot the queen that way too. So when you shake that frame, you can look, and if you do, you just may immediately pick the queen back up, put her back in the box you brought them from. If not, after a few minutes or so, they'll go down off in there. When they're down in there, you can just put your feet on there. Like I said, you ain't got to close them up at all.
Okay.
David probably can explain to you today how we was cutting cells, then we was using grafted cells, and how we set up one whole stand, and he can explain to you how fast it was to make, I don't know, I think they had 12 or 15 splits in that one stand. One stand of that 1 yard. Tell them how you did that, David.
Yeah, the most time consuming is making sure you got all the boxes, tops and bottoms. I mean, once you set all that up right there, I mean, 10 minutes, to go around, put your cells in, go grab you a couple of frames from somewhere, shake the box. I mean, you're pretty well done. I mean, you'll come back a little while later when they're all in the box there. You'll make sure you got plenty around that, and then you're go with it. I mean, we did 15 probably in less than 30 minutes. I mean, the biggest part was lining the box up and getting her lid and everything set. But other than that, you can move on pretty quick. And actually, the resources, the only thing that'll slow you down if you don't have a whole lot and you got to go through a bunch of boxes. But really, if you got the resources there, I mean, first potential is as fast as you can move. That's the only limiting potential.
I got to run out and get my battery charger. I thought my wife had this thing charged. Go ahead and talk amongst yourself, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, David, that's a good point there about the resource hives. It seems like a lot of us, when you're getting started, we try to stretch a lot of things out a little bit too thin, and that can sometimes put you in a place where if you get aggressive early and make a bunch of splits and try to make a bunch of queens and you stretch out every last resource and things go sour, that can really put you back. But if you've got enough resources on hand to that you can risk and afford if everything falls on its face, then it seems like you're in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, the good thing is that I learned down here, because I was going to just do straight 5 frames this year, but I realized in Don's yard you'll need some 8s to pack out, so you'll have them resources available. This time of year they're going to be pulling a lot of honey whenever the honey flow hits, so you're going to have a lot of bees, and to use that honey up, you'll just make a split with it. You just take the bees that are on that honey frame, stick in there, put a queen cell in there, boom, you got another split right there. I mean, the faster you can move, that's the more splits you can make. I mean, Don had us running down there, and there was 2 of us, and I mean, that's all we could do to keep up with what he's wanting us to do. I mean, I know we slow him down a lot, but I don't know if I could have went any faster. It was pretty hot out there today.
I don't know. I've never seen anyone down there who can keep up with him. I mean, he runs circles around everybody, and I'm half his age, and I can't keep up. I mean, I've never seen anyone who can actually keep up with him.
Yeah, he's pretty sharp on that. What's down there in his yard? I mean, he'll say, "Well, this frame we got that. Go to this box with this here, and then go over and put this and over here, and this has got that." So it's a pretty fast environment there once he gets cranked up.
So what? Another question I got is, I've got another 5-frame nuke that may have just a handful of bees in it, and the queen has already been released, has been for a while. Just do the same thing there, is just kind of put nurse bees on a top lid and let them crawl down inside of there?
Well, what Don teaches you, if you got 5 frames in there and there's very few bees, pull out them outside frames that's probably not got no bees, like honey or something. you can put them to another box. Leave out, go through your whole box. Make sure you have no queen in there at all. And if you don't have a queen in there, stick you a queen or a queen cell in there. And yeah, shake you just a couple of little frames of bees in there. And the rest of them will go back. Even if you're not for sure if you found the queen or not, that queen cells is like an insurance policy. If that's go one way or another.
Yeah, one thing too is repeat how your eyes on the ground. We found a queen in the ground, got a dozen queens, and we found one in a hive that was being involved, and how we released it.
Don, can you repeat that? There, we're having some feedback there. Can you repeat your answer to the question there?
We was walking around the bee yard, and I keep telling my students, always keep watching the ground. And I spotted a small little clump of bees, could have been about 10 or 15 with a queen. So we picked it up and let it walk in one of our hives that we knew was queenless. And then Robert come over and said, we had a ball of bees in the bottom of the nuke box. And he said, it's that bees being balled. So I reached down my hand and picked up that ball of bees, and I got the workers off of her, and I just held her up and let her fly off. And I think she went in the next row over there. So sometimes those queens will fly out and mate several times and land on the ground. So don't walk around your bee yard if you got a lot of hives in a daze. Keep your eyes on the ground and your ears to the sky.
Okay, Robbie's got a question. Robbie, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
I just updated my app. I get used to this app right now. I haven't got any pictures from my beehive, so I don't know how good they're looking right now. The bees are still alive. The cold snap didn't hurt them at all, thank God. I'm hoping to go to my house tomorrow and go in a hive and see what it looks like. So I don't know where my bees' temper is, what have you. As soon as I find out, I'll let you guys know.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. I don't. As soon as I go into my hive, I'm gonna make a split, and come back here and.
Now make sure if you make a split that you have a queen cell.
Okay.
Or if you don't have a queen cell, now don't make a split unless you have a mated queen.
All right. Okay.
Does that help you out, Robbie?
I hear you good.
Does that help you?
Yeah. It does. It does. I hope I don't act or look dumb right now since I'm not getting the information since I'm not at my bee yard.
Oh, it'll be okay. Don't let it get you down. You'll have gray hair like me.
How's your house doing?
We are booming here, actually.
Okay.
Okay. Who else has some questions here? Let's take a look here, see who's on there. Mr. Zirkle, I see you there. John, how's your bee yard doing this year?
Got to unmute, John.
There, are we?
There you go.
There you go. Hi, John.
Hey, everybody. Actually, couldn't be doing better. It was off to a slow start because of the weather. And but now the bees are bringing in a lot of nectar, and I'm making splits. I had 1, 3, I run 10 frames, and I was 3 deep already. And I went in the other day, and I had about 25 queen cells in that box. So I made about 15 splits off that one hive. So that's how quick they're moving. The other thing was funny is out of those splits, I had some drawn comb from last year, and I didn't want wax moths to move in, so I put a second frame on top of the 5 frames with drawn down foundation. I went in those 10 days later, and they had queen cells. So it was amazing how quick those nuke boxes exploded when you put drawn frame in the top already. I mean, I almost lost them, you know. So, but yeah, it's been great. It's been fun. It's been nice weather, and I'm enjoying this. Is beekeeping in Pennsylvania. This is where it's
Well,
it's
that's
fun.
the number one reason I keep telling people a 5 frame will outproduce an 8 or a 10.
Mhm.
So and then it's again, we have a lot of women or a lot of small people that are small structure. They can't lift a 10 frame box if it's full of honey. So it's something to think about when you're getting ready to set your bee yard up, and then how high you set your beehives. It's a lot of things to think about.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think I got another 5 years of 10 frames in me, and I'll be downsizing the 5 frames because they're starting to get heavy when they're 3 and 4 stacked. So
it don't take long to get old.
so, but things are good, Greg.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to hear.
See, we can get Michelle to give us a comment what she's doing out there. I've been trying to get her on this chat for a while.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you good.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I see you. Off and on. There you go. Now you muted yourself. I think he usually takes and unmutes. You'll have to, there you go. Try it now.
Okay, hey guys.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm here in Western North Carolina. You can see a little bit of our mountains. My first time. Thank you so much for inviting me. What an honor. So nice to meet you guys.
I like to get all us young guys and get these girls in here and show other girls that it's not that hard. Michelle makes money selling nukes, so don't think you can't sell nukes. You doing pretty good selling, Michelle? She was busy.
Yeah,
nukes ready
it's my internet that's
yeah.
I've been. I think it's my internet is just bad.
There she
is. I can't hear very well. Nobody's voting here. Okay, but I've been doing new queens this year.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to do like me and go to McDonald's and get a hotspot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Maybe it'll be better next time. I'm trying to get everybody off the internet.
That's the same thing here. I got in the house and all the kids were decided to tuck in for the night and catch up on their stuff there. So we're out here in the country too, Michelle. So we don't have very good reception either. So I feel you there. Don, now,
thank you.
A lot of folks are beginning beekeepers that are checking in on this bee chat, and they want to kind of make the move towards commercial. So you kind of have a wide audience of brand spanking new beekeepers to some sideliners and some guys that are making some money selling bees. The folks that are selling bees or sideline, they probably always need help, trying to sharpen up hone the tool and get a little sharper here. But the brand new beginning beekeepers that might be listening who bought packages this year, what should folks be doing right now who bought packages, who just got them installed in the last month or so? Could you talk to them a little bit about what they should be looking for in their hives, what they should be preparing for the rest of the year?
I think the main thing to do right now, if you're putting packages in, is put the feed to them and then check them about every 2 weeks and see how they're doing. And if you're going to get started buying packages, I suggest buying 2 packages, or even you can consider buying 2 nukes, because you always want one thing to compare to another. Because if you're a new beekeeper and you're buying all your equipment, it gets a little rough. But if you just had one hive out there and you go out there, you see bees flying like crazy, you think, well, they're doing fine. Well, maybe they're being robbed out. So if you had 2 hives and you sit there and you watch one and you compare it to the other, one is bringing pollen in and the other one isn't, the one that's not bringing pollen is really busy. Then you start seeing little cuttings out there. It gives you a little indication, something to go by. So the main thing people worry about is, I don't want to get feed or syrup or sugar in my honey. They're not going to take that syrup if there's a honey flow. I had students over here this week, and we basically do natural comb. So if we don't have a queen cell in there or a queen, sometimes they might draw 4 or 5 inches of drone comb. So I've been out here showing students how to just cut solid capped white honey off. And we're on a good honey flow. I cut off right back up to where it's about 1 inch to 2 inch strip. I left that honey there, and I put it back in a hive. And then if the queen has made it coming back, they're going to start drawing just worker cells all the way down. They're not going to draw the drone comb. So I refeed a lot of mine. And there's honey that's set out there for 3 or 4 hours today. The bees didn't even touch it. There's so much honey coming in. So there's other things there that you can think about. Or if you even think down those lines, if you got questions, you know, people worry about entrance reducers, robbing, and they get gray hairs over this stuff. Now, I had 3 or 4 students here today, and every one of them will tell you, I'm running 5 frame boxes, 1 frame of bees, a queen cell, no entrance reducers. And I have a big vent hole in the front and the back of my hives. So, I mean, I'm just throwing that out so it gives you a little, you know, food for thought there. You close them up too much, the next thing you see is you're going to see beetles, and, you know, you're going to end up getting worms in there. You're going to overheat. I had a student today, and he says that hive there is getting ready to swarm on you because they're bearding out the front. And I said, wait a minute, look at the box. What color is it? It was a dark royal blue, and the western sun was hitting good. And the bees had migrated to the back. And I guess he didn't think before he asked the question. And I said, well, where do you go if it's hot? You get in the shade? And he looked, yeah, that's what I do. So I said, look at the box. They just walked around to the back. They're getting in the shade. They'll migrate around the front. So that's why I'm doing these chats to kind of educate people. Okay? So if you got a question, now the time to jump in. Now I see Steven's in here, Steven's son there. Steven, tell us how I see you doing some graft in your daddy's truck. That boy I'm proud of. He is doing good. Tell us about your experience, Steven.
It's really fun. Grafting, whenever you finally get to sit there and take the larva out, you kind of start to feel what you're doing. I don't know what I'm talking about.
It wasn't as hard as what you think it was it, Steven?
Definitely not.
I'm not the world's best teacher, but I'll tell you something. His first time out, he's got around 60 to 80% on those frames. And the man is helping him and us over here. He marks the frames of the new students coming in so we can see what their progression is. And we had another young boy here from Alabama. His dad brought him, paid for 1 day, and then the following week come back paying for the rest of the year because he really enjoyed it. You got to stand behind your kids and back them up a little bit, give them a little free reins, and let them make decisions on their own. That's what I do. When I had him out in the back there, I let him make decisions. And then if he made a mistake, I didn't get on him. I told him what he was doing right and the way I would do it, or help. So that's another thing. Help these young kids get out there. That boy's going to be in the money in about 5 or 10 years. He don't need to depend on a job from anybody. He can write his own check. And that's what I'm doing these chats for, to educate. Because I'm not going to be around, and Stephen, he does not like to teach, and he won't teach. So I'm bending over backwards to turn students out. Or the farmer would say, I'm planting seeds for the following crop.
That's an important thing to be doing, and I'm sure Steve Sr. has got something to say about that. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, last Monday, we decided that we were going to try our hand again at grafting. And I did a bar, and I let my son do a bar. And we went back the next day to check on him, and sure enough, his bar was better than mine. But moral to the story is, pay attention to what you're doing. I made a huge mistake of not paying attention to shaking bees and shook one of my queens from one of my biggest hives into my starter. Come to find out, 5 days later, every one of those grafts that we had were gone. Wasn't a good feeling. Lesson learned.
The drain helps.
Say that again?
Putting them down the drain. That's a method I use to take one lid, put it on top of the hive, and then turn another one upside down like a 5-frame box. You take an 8-frame lid, and then you look at your frame. If you don't see the queen, you shake them in there, and they're going to go down the hole. I call it putting the bees down the drain. And actually, David and Robert caught a couple queens that we missed, because some of our queens are long, thin, black ones, and we are working. This yard is set up basically commercial. So I'm taking a student or a commercial student, and I'm trying to make them work faster, more efficiently. So put them down the drain, instead of looking back and forth, spend 10 minutes, you set up 5 or 6 more hives in the same amount of time.
Yeah, I sat there and watched you do 2 drain events while we were there that time, and I should have done it. I just was in a hurry, wasn't paying attention, and it bit me in the butt.
Yeah, well, that's why you come back, and I have to regrade. I keep telling students, don't get mad at me because I repeat myself a lot. I want it to be natural so you don't have to think about it.
It won't happen again.
I want to turn out top-notch students, and I send you business. I want you to be successful. I'm not like every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there that's worrying about every dollar. I want you to be successful. And by you being successful tells me I'm doing a good job. If you're not successful, I failed you. So that's my main thing that I'm trying to do.
Okay. Eric, go ahead.
Got another question for you, Don.
Okay.
I started this year with going with naturally drawn comb with the starter strip. I got a couple frames in one hive. Well, I got some in other hives as well, but they basically laid all drone comb on one of those frames.
Mm-hmm.
Do you cut that comb out after they get done hatching out and let them redraw that back out to try to get worker cells, or how do you do that?
I will let David from Tennessee or Robert tell you what a junk box is for.
You able to hear me?
Yep.
All right. This is Robert. I was working with David for the past couple of days there. And at first, going through all these chats and everything, I thought I was doing it good, just doing the nuke boxes. And it wasn't until a while later that I learned about the junk box. And any frame that's got a lot of the brood comb on it or anything like that, we just pull it out of the nuke box it's in. We throw it into the junk box, 8-frame box there, and use it as a resource box for later on, where we just pull the bees to shake in for the new nukes for putting in the cells, and it makes a huge difference as to being able to get your resources and build those nukes pretty fast. But yeah, sure enough, today, there was quite a few of the frames there that only had, more than half of them were drone comb, and one of them was sealed, and Don took a knife right across the top inch there and put it right back in, and he took all the extra honey, just threw it in a box for it to be robbed out. If there's any of them that were about to be finished hatching out, we just stick it back in, wait another day, then pull it out, just cut it, and then put it back in, and it's just got a nice, beautiful starter strip for them to keep pulling it out.
Okay.
Everything is so simple here. I make it simple. I want it to be as simple as just walking down the street. It should come natural. You don't have to think about it.
Okay.
That was a good explanation of what a junk box is. And when people come here and I say take a frame to a junk box, they have this funny look on their face like they look around for a bunch of piled up junk somewhere. But you should have that to clean your hives and maintain good worker cells. So if we have a frame that's mostly honey, even if it's capped, I have 2 or 3 boxes out there. I just chop it off and leave a starter strip of honey in there and put it in there, because a hive is not going to be productive if you don't have the workers. So try to keep the workers in there. Whether you're selling honey or whether you're selling bees, the workers is what you need. If you got hives that you don't take and clean them out and they're getting full of more and more drones, eventually the population drops to the point where your mites start getting built up in it, and then pretty soon you have a hive that won't go through the winter.
Okay.
I hope that answers a lot of questions. And if you got a question about this beekeeping stuff, now's the time to get it. Not when I leave here. When I leave at the end of the chat, I hear there's so many conversations going on. Now's the time to ask them.
Brett, I see you there. How's been your season so far? Getting back up to New Jersey with I think you only got home with 1 package of Don's bees there. You sold them before you got there, huh?
Got 1 package, yeah, sold all 24, kept 1 and split it 12 times already.
Wow.
So they're doing well. Hopefully a lot of them went out on a mating flight yesterday when it was nice. It's been windy and rainy, so we'll see.
Did you learn how to make numbers here?
Oh, yeah. Numbers, junk box, drain, all good stuff. Yeah, the package did really well. All the clients have come back and said how nice the bees are and how well they're doing. People have been sending me pictures. It's really nice.
Yeah. That's what builds business, happy customers.
That's right.
Okay. Mr. Gilmer, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Don.
Hey.
When you're talking about putting them down the drain, on your lids, you've got holes cut in them so you can put the gallon buckets on top of it, right?
Well, that's the hole we use for our gallon buckets. Yeah.
Is that the same hole you're using like when you're going down the drain with them?
Right. Yeah.
Would it be beneficial, and I didn't catch the other day when you was talking about going down the drain how you were doing it, but I've kind of figured it out now. Would it be beneficial to throw a piece of queen excluder over the hole when you do it to just make sure you don't?
That's a whole new game right there. I'll talk about that if you want to hear about that. We have sold packages of about 99% drones. Who the heck's going to buy drones? Because, people want your stock. They have to have drones. So we run bees through a queen excluder just for nothing but drones.
Okay.
If somebody wants to saturate an area, or like where you're at, you've got Africanized, they'll come and buy 4 or 5 packages of nothing but drones. To get
really?
I mean, that's something else people don't even think about, how to saturate your area.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm using a lot of green comb to help.
But my home yard, I'm trying to teach people from the backyard to get into beekeeping as cheap as possible. So on our mini nukes, we're using Powerade bottles. So you drill your lid out 1 5/8 inches, and Powerade bottles fit it. And then you put 1 hole in there, and you can visibly see the height of the syrup when you have to change it out. But we did the hive top feeders in some of our out yards, which that is a shoebox that holds 1.5 gallons. Don't get me wrong, it works perfect, it works fine, no bees get drowned. But being commercial, it takes longer to fill that 1.5 gallons with a hose than I can have a student with 3 buckets in each hand, walk down a row, knock buckets off, and on the way back, put the full ones on it, pick it up. It's a time thing. So I'm teaching you manage time in the same amount of time to make 10 times more money just by making your motions more efficient.
Well, I've started switching over to the gallon buckets like you're doing. Greg, I bought some of the plugs from Greg and doing that. My question was, when you're going down the drain with the bees and you're looking for that queen, would it be beneficial to lay a queen excluder over the top of the hole before you start?
Why would you want to lay a queen excluder across the hole?
Well, if I wanted to make sure I didn't drop a queen down in the hive when I wasn't wanting to.
I've had students shake 2 full frames of bees. When you shake them onto that lid, they're going to spread out, and then when they start to head for that hole, their tails go up in the air, they're calling the queen. When you see that, you miss the queen. They'll stay there. Actually, today they caught 2 or 3 of the queens that they missed, because some of the queens the coloration blends in so well, it's hard to find. And I try to tell the students it's like an insurance policy. So if you look at it this way, this is the way I'm teaching the students. The time it would take you to go back and forth through that box, you could shake 5 boxes of bees out and put them down the drain. So what's going to happen at the very worst? The queen is going to be in the box you pulled it out of or the box you put it in. It's not a big deal. It's time efficiency. You have to get more boxes in a certain amount of time done. So like
And that's what I'm running into.
In a commercial yard, we try to make 100 splits a day. And a lot of people I know that falls off their chair, you can't do that. But my students get used to it. Usually within 3 to 4 weeks, they'll shake 100 splits out themselves a day. That ain't a problem. Numbers is not a problem. Your biggest problem is feeding and equipment.
Right. The equipment side of it, I've really learned is a problem.
You will pick up something every time you come here, believe me. If you don't, then I'm not teaching enough. I'm sitting in my chair too much.
Don, what are you going to start sitting on in the bee yards there? Since you've gone away from the hive top feeders to the gallon buckets, what in the world are you going to start sitting on out there?
You didn't see my new toy?
No. Oh, I did see that. I did see that. Okay. Yeah.
Or my son-in-law was letting me use their old 4x4.
Yeah, they're side by side there. I did see that.
Little box in the back, and so I run across a good deal, and I bought my own. So now I can work that back there, take my boxes back there, run my students back and forth, because it's about it's 500 or 600 yards from the house to the back where we got bees. So when we're back there, if customers come up, I can make it up quicker, because I'm getting old. I don't run as fast.
You still run faster than I do, so don't sell yourself short there. You're not kidding nobody. Let's see here. Well, guys, get your questions in there. Let's check in with Mr. Crutchfield. Dennis, how are your bees doing out there in Missouri? You're one of Don's students there. How's things going out your way?
It just got hot enough to start doing something. The rain, and cold weather. Here it is, the end of May. Not been a very good year.
Been pretty wet?
Yeah, it's been wet. Most of my virgins have not made it back, so it's been trying, but we hit 80 degrees a day. Got to meet a couple of guys and had some good conversations with them. Did sell 16 queens today. We're getting there. We're gearing up for this month. We'll go gun ho. But the last 2 months, April and May, usually when I really take off, it took off. Winter. So we're just kind of holding her on. We're getting ready to gear up now.
Now, when you was getting started, you was telling me how many boxes you made up ahead. Why don't you touch on that? See how long they last. Let people know how many you had ahead and what you thought you had.
I made 500 boxes. That wasn't enough. Now, I made a couple of foolish mistakes this winter, and I got some boxes to use now, but they won't take long to build back up. But you can't have enough boxes. I was going to get a whole pallet full, Don, but this COVID nonsense got in the way. Right. Everybody got laid off, so I've been sitting here piddling at the house. But
have you tried Todd? See if he can get you some?
Well, when we got laid off, the money got laid off too, so we just held on to what we had.
Oh.
We're all just getting back to work now.
Oh.
And we'll start that again. But
Well,
doing pretty good right now. I can't keep up. I wish so. If it had been a good spring, we'd done all right. But I'm a few of the customers taken care of.
you get your numbers up, and then locate your supply of the syrup and equipment. Now I'm going to throw something out there. You might be interested, you might not. We're laying out on the property here in Crawfordville. We're getting a 6,000 gallon tank so we can start buying high fructose corn syrup, and we'll be buying 6,000 gallons at a load. So I'm letting Stephen handle that. So if you want syrup, you can contact him, but he's not in a hurry. So we're just getting ready to start pouring concrete, and we'll have our tank out here and stuff probably up and running within 4 to 5 weeks. So it might be advantage to some that are in driving distance. At my house, I was selling 5-gallon buckets full to students, but I didn't want to get into a full-time doing that. So I don't know what Stephen's going to do. It might be something to think about. You might save some money unless you can find a sugar broker, get yourself set up that way, and buy totes of it through that. But I threw that out as far as if you're in the area or if you know you need queen cells, let us know. We usually have 100, maybe 300 extra every weekend, and we sell them either individually or we sell them by the hundreds. And if you buy them by 100, we usually throw in a few extras to make sure that they come. They usually hatch within 24 to 36 hours. You can put them in a Cool Whip container with a paper towel or Kleenex and cover them up. And if you're comfortable in a car without air conditioning too high, they're fine. They'll be good for a good 24 hours without putting them in the incubator. And so you got a bunch of hives, you want to make a bunch of splits, it's the quickest way to build numbers.
Well, we're still planning on it. It's just getting everything organized again. How much will a gallon of your corn syrup run?
That
ballpark.
They're going by poundage, and he's got it broke down by pounds.
Okay.
And I think he's talking it's 30, 35 cents a pound, but now it's equivalent to a 5 to 6 to 1 sugar ratio. Now, you could cut that by half. But now when we can the syrup up, we probably take a tote, put 15 gallons of water in 300. That's about as low as we got to cut it for canning it up, for packages. But now our queen yards, we're running almost a full strength there, other than we putting in a brood builder or we're putting in tea tree oil, that type of stuff like that.
Does the fructose, how much does it weigh per pound to a gallon compared to water or syrup?
It's 11 point something a pound.
Okay.
It's real heavy.
Okay, yeah, it's about $3.80 up here.
How much does it run?
About $3.80.
A pound?
Gallon?
A gallon. I don't know. Stephen's got that broke down. He's got a smart hair. I'm not good on numbers.
Okay. I was just curious if it's enough, and I was coming down after queen sales. It'd be a good time to pick some up.
Yeah. Bring you a tote or buckets. Now, barrels, too.
Okay.
55-gallon barrels. You can put one in the back of a pickup truck. I've had people pick up 2 or 3 barrels of syrup.
Okay. We may very well do it. We get this stuff all straightened up around here.
A lot of people not good for the bees and everything else, but we used to buy raw cane sugar and buy number 2, and by the time you sit there and figure what is your time worth mixing up a ton of sugar and 55-gallon barrels, believe me, sit there and add your time up. You could pay $1 a gallon for premix and still come out ahead, or $1 a pound. And
I'm at the point where the sugar's taking too much time.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
What is your time worth?
Quite a bit right now.
Right.
I appreciate it, Don. I'll be down. I haven't forgot you. Just trying to get everything reorganized after all this COVID nonsense.
Yeah.
But we had 8 in the county, and they shut us down.
You come here, I won't get that close. You won't catch nothing from me.
My wife would appreciate that.
Well,
All righty. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Don, most folks are familiar with.
Someone's got some questions out there.
We've got about 5 or 6 minutes left here, Don. No questions at the moment, but most folks know you on your preference for running natural comb, starter strips, most of the wax that you make there on your mill. And most folks are picking up on that your son has a different preference on running deeps because of transport.
Right.
He likes to run plastic. And a lot of us today saw the photo there on Facebook with one of your students posting. You had a whole FedEx truckload of plastic frame or plastic foundation on wood frames there. And I believe last time that I was there, Steven said you guys were running small cell plastic foundation.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if you maybe wanted to share if you had any resources on where folks could find small cell plastic foundation if they were interested in giving it a shot, and the best way to get their bees to draw it out.
Well, if you get on small cell, you could probably do it. You could probably buy bulk packages like from Man Lake. Just get unwired. That way you can cut it in starter strips. If you're going to go with the plastic, one way you could take it, you could cut it on a table saw and cut starter strips of the plastic. Now, I'll explain to you why Stephen does it. He's running a big 4x4, and when he hauls 50 or 100 nukes from the woods, right now, today, it was above 90. So if you got 2 inches or 3 inches of capped honey there at 90 degrees and you hit a bump, what do you think is going to happen? Now, I run natural cell, which I teach the students to hold the frames vertically. If by any chance you can keep that frame in that box for 3 cycles of brood and you're running doubles, you're going to have brood build up in those cells and they're going to build strength to them. So then they would never fall. I mean, old comb, it's hard to cut how strong it is. The problem I have is I cycle out my stuff so fast, I don't get a chance to get too many cycles of brood in the frames. So I teach the students and the customers how to handle it. But if you can hold it back selling so fast to where you can get 2 to 3 cycles of brood, the cocoons build up so small or so big in there or strong that they hold that frame. It's hard to even cut them and tear them. That's what I do. I prefer natural, and I'm teaching old ways. It might not be what everybody wants, but I'm trying to pass that information on because we live in a plastic world, and people that get stuck on making queen cells on plastic, if you ever get them to try natural cups, their take is a lot better. It's easier, cheaper, less labor intense. But I keep saying all the time on these chats, and people ask, my way is not the only way. It's another way. It's another way to skin the cat on this. That's all it is.
Well, it's important to be able to know how to do those. There's a lot of things where convenience is nice, but it's also nice to be able to know how to go back to the grassroots of something and do it as natural as possible with as little as possible with the resources you have there. And then you can adapt and always move up from there. So I think it's a good skill to have, to know how to make everything from wax, but to know when you need to or if you want to go to plastic, that there's options and it can work for you. We've got one more question here, Don, from Adrian. Adrian, go ahead.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
So I think I came in on a conversation about goofy comb, and I'm having that problem this year. I've got, I do the starter strips that from, the Man Lake stuff, and put the starter strips in like you teach with the natural comb. But they keep on they're building comb across a frame like this, and then I've got goofy bunches of too much drone comb going on. Mm-hmm. What can cause all that, and how do I remedy it without?
You might be putting too many starter strips in at one time. Your best bet would be use 1 inch to 1.5 inches of a starter strip.
Yeah, I've been using
two frames that's drawn out.
Yeah.
Now
sometimes they don't even build on the starter strip; they're building beside it.
Well, it sounds like your spacing of your frames is not close together.
Okay.
You're leaving gaps between your frames.
Well, I'm bringing them, burning them up together, centralizing them, like I see in your videos, where the things are contacting. I mean, occasionally I might screw up and do that, but I'm not doing that enough to think that's the reason.
Sometimes if they just make a lot of burr comb in different ways, it sounds like you're not feeding them enough, or you don't have enough bees in there.
Okay, that could be.
The draw wax.
Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, but you know, it's like starter strips. A lot of people use the wedge bar. I use the wedge bar. If you don't put a lot of pressure with your thumbs on it and push it into the wax before you shoot your brad into it, you get very many bees hang on it. It'll pull it out.
Okay.
So one thing you can do is take a paintbrush, a little 1/2-inch paintbrush, get hot wax after you put that starter strip in, and just stick the brush up against it, just like you're drawing. I mean, move it. Don't stand there. It should take you 2 seconds, one side of the frame to the other. Turn it around, do the same thing. Now, if you're going to take plastic comb and cut it in starter strips, do the same thing, but paint it each side twice.
Yeah.
That allows the hot wax to go down in that little gap there between the cells and that wedge star. They won't fall out. And then you don't have frames dropping on you.
So I finally, I have some plastic, but I was giving up on the stuff because my bees were building a horrible comb. And so I started coating it myself twice over with a paintbrush, just real quick, dragging it across. And it finally, they've started to build a half-decent comb off that thing. So, yeah.
I actually did a demonstration today because there is so much talk about how to coat frames. I mean, I've tried basically a lot of things that I hear on the internet, from the paint of it, the paint roller. I showed students today, if you've got black plastic, set it in the sun and keep your eye on it, keep feeling it. When you feel good and warm, I have like an ice cube tray. It's a silicone mold, like a bread mold, basically. And I pour about 2 inches of wax in there. When it hardens, it's a square shape. I stand my frame up there 10 to 15 minutes, put your hand against it, you feel heat, take the side of that block of wax and rub it back and forth. And within, I think I've done both sides in about 7 to 8 seconds, and it's white when I get done. It's the fastest, easiest way.
So it needs to be thick on that stuff.
It's drawn out.
Right. So it needs to be real good thick, not the stuff that comes from the store. It's just not enough on there.
Well, that's debatable. I mean, everything's up for debate, you know, because if you don't have enough bees in there and there's not enough temperature, they're not going to draw it.
Okay.
That's your main thing. The next thing is if you're not feeding them, if those bees are hungry, they're not going to draw wax. So you got to have either a honey flow or be feeding them.
All right. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it. I'll put that in action.
Okay.
Okay. Looks like we got one more question here. Mr. Crutchfield, go ahead, sir.
Oh, it's not a question, but I got lazy last year and got behind. I just took a paintbrush and painted wax right on the top of the bar and shoved it in. I didn't have a strip. They drawed it out just fine. You know, you're better off with a strip, but they did real good.
Well, the strip kind of gives them a little bearings, how to draw from.
Yeah, you're right.
I mentioned there's a lot of ways to skin a cat out there.
Tastes like chicken.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay.
Don, we're at 9:03. Do you have any parting thoughts or anything you want to say before we go?
Parting wisdom. Drink lots of water out there in that bee yard. Take a lot of breaks, especially when you're my age. Those students will run me to death out there if I don't keep my eye on them. And just watch what you're doing and don't be afraid to make splits. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. It's a learning thing. And I don't care who you talk to. There's no beekeeper that I've ever met in 50, 60 years that has never lost a hive, never made a mistake. And if they did, they either don't have bees or they're a bigger liar than I am.
All right, Don, thanks again for another chat and for everyone for jumping in and joining us. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. We'll have a short after chat here in a little while. Thanks again, Don. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.
Everybody, appreciate Greg for getting in here. And if you need those plugs, we order our plugs through Greg. He sends them to us, and it's something to think about if you're going to do it with the buckets. Now, Greg, I think sells buckets too, or can get them for you.
Yep, you can go to naturesimagefarm.com to order those plugs. And you can watch the video. It'd be cheaper if you build your own buckets, and I'll help you find and source all those. But I'll be happy to help. So thanks again, Don.
All right, thanks for everybody showing up.
We'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.